From 12 News, this is Newsmakers.
Welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Tim White. We're coming to you from inside the Rhode Island State House this week because we're sitting down one-on-one with Governor Gina Raimondo for a year-end interview. We wanted the governor to take a step back and reflect on 2020, a year of tensions and big decisions for the governor, and look ahead to months of probably more of the same. Here now is our interview with Governor Gina Raimondo. Governor, thank you very much for taking the time with us. I know you're busy, and I'm glad you're out of quarantine.
Yes, today's my first day out. It's great to be here.
Honor to be your first interview out of quarantine. So look, there's a lot of ground I want to cover. I want to reflect on 2020, but I want to start with something that we're getting a lot of feedback on, to put it politely. There was a picture taken of you at a restaurant with a mask off and a glass of wine in front of you. And look, by all accounts, you're within the rules that you have established. But there is this feeling, Governor, that you are constantly lecturing people about the rules. Then you're seeing doing something that, as governor, is an essential, right? And I wonder if you understand why some people look at that picture and think it's hypocritical.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought it up. Yes, I guess I can understand that. But, you know, we're just following the same rules that I'm asking everyone else to follow. You know, I'm not going to follow special rules. I'm following the rules. And that night, we were absolutely following the rules.
You were with your household.
Exactly. So I was with my household, wearing a mask, stayed very briefly, went straight home after. You know, those are the rules, and we were following the rules. I will say this. Maybe as governor, I feel a little bit extra responsibility to support our local businesses. So what my husband and I did that night is we walked up and down Westminster Street, which honestly was a little sad. You know, not a lot of activity, and we spent as much money as we could in local businesses, buying books, buying other things. I'm encouraging folks to shop local, and then we went for a quick bite to eat, and then we went home. So. Listen, and we wore our masks the entire time except when we were actually eating and drinking. So I followed the rules to a T. You know, I'm in a tough spot, right? It's a difficult spot. I can see why some people would feel that way.
And are you worried it might undercut the message you've been hammering for so long?
I always worry. But on the flip side, like I said, I want to spend my dollars in a local economy. It's also good for me to get out and talk to small businesses. You know, that night I had the opportunity to talk to the bookstore owner, the restaurant owner. What's going on? How are you doing? I gave one of them advice on exactly how to apply for the Restore RI grants. So, you know, we followed the rules. I'm following the exact same rules that I'm asking everybody else to follow. And so if I weren't following the rules, then that absolutely, I could understand that. But in this case, I see it. Listen, I see it, and I'm glad you brought it up. But by the same token, I'm within the rules, want to do my part to kind of like help out the local economy.
One last question on this. I was thinking about why this is such a big deal, and I get the whole gotcha thing that the society is often. But I do, as I was reflecting on it, I think the reaction we are seeing also highlights a conflict within your own policies, or possibly. You put the household restrictions on people. So in other words, you know, don't interact with anyone outside your own household, even if you're out to dinner. But you can be in a room full of strangers in a restaurant, take your mask off to eat and drink. You know, that just seems confusing to people.
Well, first of all, it is confusing. Second of all, that's not limited to Rhode Island. That's what's happening in every state, frankly, in every country.
But you make the rules here.
Correct, but my point is, there's no good rule. There's no perfect situation. So we are like following the science, following our own data, and doing the best that we can to make rules that make sense and keep people safe. I mean, what we do know is that the more like structured people are, the better they are. So like if you're in a restaurant, you just sit in your seat, which is what we did. You know, you sit in your seat, you leave, you don't stay too long, you don't talk or mix with anyone who you don't live with unless you have your mask on. That's a much safer scenario than, say, a household party where people are not likely to have their masks on, hugging, kissing, being really close to one another. So Is it perfect? No. Is everyone frustrated? Yes. But there's logic behind it, and we're doing the best we can.
Will that picture have a chilling effect on you now, going out to dinner with the first gentleman?
Such a good question. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe it will, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is.
All right, let's get to schools.
Although the pause hopefully will end soon enough.
Do you have an end date on it since you brought it up, or is it just?
Well, it's going to end Monday. I mean, we've already said that.
Okay, and we should point out, we're talking on a Friday. You're about to do a press conference at 1, so that news will come out at 1 o'clock, I'm sure. But last week, you had some pretty tough words to school districts who went remote. You said they gave up on kids, they threw in the towel, they let children down. And days later, the state announced a new statewide calendar with distance learning. Anyway, do you feel like you owe the superintendents an apology in any way for that tough language? And if the answer is yes, have you done it?
Yeah. So let me say this. I never intended any, disrespect to superintendents, most of whom are working so hard and have actually brought their kids back in person. Mm-hmm. So I regret on that situation that everyone got lumped together. I do think it's terrible that Pawtucket hasn't brought even the younger ones back. I do think it was terrible that Warwick, took so long. But then you have a lot of other places, really most other places, that had taken the kids back and had taken the young kids back. So what we did for the holiday, as you just referenced, in no way am I backing away from the fact that we want to have as many kids in person as long as possible. That is still my strong position. Having said that, there are practical realities, like for instance around the holidays, where we worked in conjunction with the superintendents, we listened to them, we heard from them. Listen, it's hard for us to do contact tracing on Christmas Day, if you had a kid in school the day before type of thing. So this is I'd say, practical reality accommodation for a couple of weeks to get through the holidays. But the principle of getting as many kids in school as much as possible, particularly for the K through 8 kids, pre-K through 8, mm-hmm. is one that I'm really still strong on.
What about moms and dads and caregivers that decided to keep their kids home because they just didn't feel like the schools would get it right or whatever reason?
Yeah.
Did they throw in the towel? Did they?
No, from the beginning we've been crystal clear about that. From the beginning I have said that is every parent's choice. And you know what's good for your kids, I know what's good for my kids. We know our ability to help our kids at home. So that is a parent's choice, and we never wanted to take that choice away. But for a lot of parents who maybe don't have broadband at home, maybe have had to work 6 or 7 days a week every week, maybe they, never graduated high school themselves, maybe they don't have a computer at home. Those folks don't have the choice necessarily to teach their kids at home, and so they ought to be able to go to school. So anyway, from day one I've been crystal clear. It's a parent's choice, and we wanted that choice to be there. We never wanted to force any parent.
The last time you and I were in this room together was July, and it was 1,000,000 degrees. I don't know if you remember that. I asked you if a vaccine were to come and a parent refused to let their kids get in, should that child be barred from in-person learning in Rhode Island public schools? Do you remember what your answer to me was?
I don't.
It was, we'll cross the bridge when we come to it.
Yeah, okay.
Do you want me to finish the question, or do you want to?
I still don't have a great answer for you.
This is a tough one, isn't it?
It is a tough one. It's a tough one. And we're still working through it. But we have a little time. At the timeline we're on, we don't think kids and teachers are going to be vaccinated until, January, February. So we're still working through it.
Okay.
The truth is,
that is a bridge you're going to have to cross, isn't
no
it?
doubt about it. Every state's talking about it. We're talking to the CDC. We're trying to, figure it out. I mean, the truth is, a lot of it depends on, what % of the people are vaccinated. So if you could get the vast majority of people in a community to be vaccinated, it might be fine if the rare student or teacher isn't. So we're still working through it.
One last question on schools. I was talking to some superintendents and other school officials looking ahead, and they're worried, and I know you are too, about the learning gap for some students because of this. Even if there's been hybrid, whatever, you do your best, there's going to be a learning gap in the situation.
Yeah.
Are there any discussions about the state putting something together for the summer to try and close those gaps?
Yes, definitely. So we did some of that last summer. You know, this is something that we've been on top of and worried about from day one of coronavirus. So this past summer, we invested extra in summer programming for kids,
Right.
and it went actually quite well. Next summer, we're going to have to do much, much more. And I believe it's something that hopefully Congress passes the stimulus bill that they're talking about today or maybe tomorrow. But from what I can tell, there's going to be a large infusion for cities and towns and states for K through 12 education.
For education, right.
And hopefully that happens, and absolutely some of that we would put towards excellent, accessible, high-quality summer programming for kids.
Since you brought up Washington, I do want to talk about the budget. Your former director of administration, Michael DBA, is now at RIPEC, suggested the deficit for, not the one where you're working on now, but the next one, could be nearly $400 million. And that math is because that's how much money the state used federally to plug some holes. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of appetite in Washington. I mean, I know it's still floating, but for direct aid to states.
Yeah.
There have been calls to raise the income tax on higher income Rhode Islanders. Are you open to that?
Yeah. So I'll say this. Everything has to be on the table. I am not, at this point, going to foreclose any options. Because if it is a $400 million hole, everything's on the table, including raising taxes. I don't want to raise taxes. I, for 6 years, have balanced budgets without raising taxes. I don't want to do it. Having said that, it might be a reality, and if we do have to, then yes, I would favor something that was put the burden on the wealthiest, even if it's just for a period of time, a couple of years, to get us out of where we are. Because here's the thing, Tim, here's what I won't do. Just make the kind of everyday Rhode Islander or the most vulnerable who is already struggling bear the full burden of this. So we already have a housing crisis, schools we're talking about, low wage earners have been absolutely crushed during this crisis. So if I had to raise taxes on the wealthy in order to make sure that we continue to deliver health care, education, cash assistance to the most vulnerable, then that's what we'll have to do.
In your head, what is higher income per household?
I don't know. We have to figure it out.
Too early.
But I'll tell you this. To me, it's a math problem more than it is a ideological thing. Like, I'm not saying we ought to tax the rich because the rich need to pay more. What I'm saying is I have to balance a budget and make sure we have necessary investments in all the stuff I just mentioned. And if that means raising revenue by a certain amount, I would favor leveling that on the wealthiest.
Yeah, but the pushback on that, math works both ways. The ledger would suggest you could also make cuts.
Which we will do. That's exactly my point. There's no way out of a $400 million deficit without cuts. Don't misunderstand me. You know the math, better than most. My only point is there's no way it's right or just or even good for Rhode Island to purely lay the burden at the feet of the most vulnerable Rhode Islanders in the average family, which is struggling. There's going to have to be cuts, and therefore I think it would be appropriate to also raise revenue.
I have a legalized marijuana question here, and it actually isn't in the context of it being some sort of windfall for revenue, because I don't think that has proven to be true. But your proposal for legalized recreational marijuana is a state-run system, a lot like the New Hampshire liquor stores. There didn't seem to be a lot of appetite for that in the Senate. Have you had conversations about a different approach?
I haven't. The facts of the matter are we didn't really get to debate it this year.
Right.
I mean, the legislative session never really happened. I mean, the way it normally would, they kind of left the building as they were supposed to in March. So I'm inclined to go back at that with the same proposal. There's always room for compromise. And I truthfully, I'm going to put in a proposal in March when I put in the budget, and likely that proposal, because I personally think it's the safest and most controlled and raises the most revenue for the state. And then the discussion begins. You know, I'm wide open to hearing from the legislature if they have other better ways to do it. We just never got to that debate last year.
And a lot of this is changing because there's going to be a new House Speaker in January, and you know, I don't need to tell you, you didn't exactly have the warmest relationship with Speaker Mattiello. He lost his district race. The incoming speaker is State Rep Joe Shikarchi, who folks should know is a former campaign manager of yours. Totally different dynamic. Have you already felt the difference?
Yes. Joe
so?
is a very collaborative guy. He is all about how do we solve the problem. He's not about getting credit. He's about let's get to the table and how do we solve the problem. So this budget, I mean, he deserves enormous credit. Think about what he's already done. He's not even officially speaker yet.
Right.
He's trying to balance a very difficult budget in the middle of a crisis, and he got it done. It's a balanced budget with no tax increases in the middle of a crisis, working seamlessly with the Senate President and I. This is the way we got to know each other, you know, was balancing this budget. So, yeah, it's been good.
You have bristled about questions about the possibility of being part of the Biden administration, and you told Kim Kalunian last week that you've said everything you want to say about it. I'm going to ask you again anyway, because there's been a new development. The New York Times reported that labor unions blocked you from being named Health and Human Services Secretary because of pension reform that you efforted. Is that your understanding of what happened?
No, I hadn't seen that.
You haven't?
I hadn't seen that article.
Really? That
Yeah.
sort of surprises me that you would come up in the New York Times in that context and you wouldn't know it.
Again, I don't know how many times I can say this. I am obsessed 24 hours a day managing this crisis.
So, you know, but again, your name is coming up as Commerce Secretary. Is that a position that you feel would be in your wheelhouse if it
I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I truly have nothing more to say on the topic. My intention is to be the governor. I am the governor now. I'm working constantly, and I have nothing else to add.
Do you know when you're going to get the vaccine?
It's funny, we had a long call yesterday on our vaccine strategy, and I said to the team, wherever I fit in line, that's where I want to be. So I don't know. I think probably it'll be late January, early February, because that's where like state essential workers or essential state workers would fall in the order. But it's fluid, right? We're still trying to figure out exactly what the order is. And it also depends on how much vaccine we get.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
the big
2
one.
days ago, we checked on Tiberius, which is the federal system, to see how much vaccine we would get for next week. And without telling us, the federal government had just cut our allocation by 30% for next week. So, you know, this is this is what I'm doing all day, every day. Like, this is where I'm focused. I might not read the New York Times every day, but I know the number of vaccines that we're supposed to get, we're not getting, and what we're going to do about it. So, long story short, you know, I'll get it whenever I fall in the pecking order, when I'm supposed to get it in line.
Do you know anyone who has passed away from COVID-19?
I do, sadly. I know a lot of people.
We don't have to get into individual stories, but
Yeah.
you know, how has that impacted you and your family?
It's really sad. It's really sad. I know I have a lot of friends, people who work for me, close family members. You know, the other day I spent a while on the phone with the widow of a correctional officer who passed away. It's our first state employee. It's horrible. A week before Christmas, she has 3 kids. I mean, these people are inconsolable.
What do you tell someone?
It's just, you just try to be there for people, offer help, thank them. In that case, thank him for his decades of service. I talked to his son. It's so heartbreaking. I also know people who have struggled to, who have had to postpone their medical care or surgeries because the hospitals are full. And those friends of mine, and those are so hard. You try to do better, you try to work harder, you try to do the best you can.
Are we at that point, not to get too into where we are right now, but with hospitals on those elective surgeries? I know you want to leave it up to Lifespan and Care New England, but are we reaching that point where that has to be considered?
It's a tough one, and I'm hesitating because that changes by the week. So right now, as I sit here, I think no. It looks like the pause has been somewhat effective. So our test positivity these past week is going down, and that is a good thing. So I don't think so, but as I said it before, because we have the field hospitals now all set up, 900 beds ready to go, I'm not inclined to tell the hospitals what they have to do like I did in the spring.
Right.
When we didn't have the field hospitals. Now I'm going to say to them, you guys manage it. If they decide to throttle back electives, then I will totally respect that, because that means they have to do it in order to serve the people. I mean, I was briefed yesterday, it's really like in Los Angeles County, they're out of ICU beds.
Yeah.
San Diego, out of ICU beds. That is really a scary thing, which of course I want to avoid.
Quick political question, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but you and Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee aren't exactly tight, and I recall the relationship between Governor Don Carcieri and Lieutenant Governor Elizabeth Roberts was almost comically distant. Should the governor and lieutenant governor be a joint ticket in Rhode Island?
I think so. I have always thought so. Yeah, I think so.
Look, you've been lauded for a lot of your actions during this pandemic, and you're the governor. You also get criticized for some of your decisions. I'm sure you've heard it. But what about you? When you reflect on the last 9 months, with the benefit of hindsight now, do you have any regrets about the decisions that you made? They were right in the moment, but looking back now.
Okay, that's a different thing. I mean, of course. So there are many examples of if we knew then what we know now. Like if we knew then what we knew now, I would have shut down sooner. I would have shut down sooner in March. Bars and restaurants and schools, etc. Like the role of contact tracing, for example, is different when you're above, say, 5% positivity. And so we got behind in contact tracing and testing. We allowed backlogs to develop in contact tracing and testing about a month ago, which turned out to be a problem, because we kept doing it the same way. But it turns out when you have such community spread, you need to actually change the way you do those systems. If we had known that then, I would have made that move sooner. So there's lots of examples of that. I wouldn't call those regrets so much as there's no playbook for this. It's not like there was any other state or country who figured it out faster. It's just we kind of like learning quickly. Regrets are more, I'm human too, like when you were saying overly harsh words or bundling in all superintendents. Listen, they're working really hard. You don't want to offend anybody. The few times that I did not wear a mask in public, that, as you said, undercuts the message. I'm sure there's been more than one occasion that I've been too tough on my staff through this. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's possible to manage what I've managed this year and not have some mistakes and some regrets. I think we've done a pretty good job of not dwelling in the mistakes. Learn, move on, try to get better. Learn, move on, try to get better.
2 quick ones, and don't don't say I hope so, gut. Will there be a 4th of July parade in Bristol next July?
Yes.
Okay, and finally, any New Year's resolutions?
More local shopping. More local shopping. I occasionally slip into using the big bad A word of a company because it's convenient, and every time I do it I feel guilty, so I'm going to help more local businesses.
A word of a company, I like that. Governor, happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and just remember 2021 is around the corner.
I hope so. I want to thank you for watching. If you missed any of our interview with Governor Gina Raimondo, you can watch it right now on WPRI.com. I'm Tim White, and we'll see you next week on Newsmakers.